Hello, my name is Debbie Boone, and I want to welcome you to my podcast, The Bend, where we explore how successful people navigated the path and emerged in a better place when life threw them an unexpected twist. It's inspired by one of my favorite sayings: the bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the curve. These conversations will hopefully help you and inspire you to embrace your personal bend and to flourish. I hope you enjoy it, and if you need help with your own personal navigation and you're in veterinary medicine, please feel free to reach out to me at Debbie Boone 2 Manage Vets Consulting. Enjoy the bend and be inspired by our wonderful guest. Welcome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of The Bend. Today, I have a fellow CVPM with me, Andrea Crabtree. Andrea is from Southern California. She's a horse girl. I've seen pictures on Facebook of her riding around. She has a BS in animal health that she received in 2004. She is, as I said, a certified veterinary practice manager. She also has her certification as a professional in human resources in California. Now that's a caveat all on its own, because California has a lot of different laws. I laugh and say I won't even talk to people in California about their labor laws. I shift them over to Andrea. She's done many presentations, and she is a member and active member of the managers group in Orange County, which she co-founded. Member of the Southern California VMA, VHMA, and VetPartners. And she has 2 cats, 2 dogs, a son, and a husband. She likes football and the Green Bay Packers. Her favorite team since she was 4 years old. And I will tell you, I know absolutely nothing about football except that the Carolina Panthers are not good. And that's my team. That's where I'm from. And the first year they came out of the gate, it was like, man, we went to the Super Bowl. And then after that, it was a downhill slide.
And no looking back.
Exactly right. So thank you for being with me, Andrea. I really appreciate your time today. And had a little internet difficulty, but we overcame it.
We're here. We made it, right? Thanks for having me on, Debbie. It's definitely an honor to be on your show. You've been my mentor and look up to you for many years now. So as a baby manager, I always said, I'm going to be like Debbie when I grow up. So it's a blessing to be here with you. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, let's do not many. Let's go many years. Not many.
Not too many.
Not too many. I don't know. It's been a long time. I haven't been out there.
Well, COVID really stretched our many's out, right? Oh, even though it was only, just over a year, it felt like 10.
That felt like 10. You're exactly right. And we made more changes in 1 year than we typically would make in 10 years period of time.
Yeah, that's the truth.
This profession got pushed hard this last couple of years. So Andrea, tell me, obviously you're a animal person. Tell me how you got started in the profession. What made you choose to go get your BS in animal science and be in vet med?
Well, I'm one of the ones that said I, love animals. I grew up on a ranch and we had all kinds of different kind of critters all my life. And for me, it was whatever I could do to be in working with. And so Cal Poly Pomona in California offered a program that was not only veterinary medicine, pre-vet medicine, but we got to, roll with the pigs and hang out with the steers and chase chickens. And so for me, that was like, oh, I don't care whatever program that is, I'm signing up for it. I don't know what it is. I don't really care, but I'll do that one. And then I got to OChem and organic chemistry, and I pumped the brakes and I was like, this is not chickens. This is not cows. This is not it for me. So pumped the brakes and said, what can I do that's business? I'm very business minded. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So what can I do that's, the entrepreneur business side? And I thought, okay, I'll try to smash up the two of my loves and say, what can I do with animals, but also on the business side? And at the time there wasn't, practice managers weren't a thing. It was always the practice owner's wife or the RVT that had been there the longest, or, it was just wasn't a thing. So after getting my BS, my college roommate, we were both single moms. I lived with my college roommate for about 15 years and our boys grew up together. she got me a job at an animal hospital, and it was an ER specialty, huge practice. So I hit the ground running, and I thought, okay, this is what I can do. So that was my first job in veterinary medicine, and I haven't looked back. I absolutely love being elbow deep in, I don't care what kind of poop, doesn't even matter, right?
Yep, I get it. Well, my
Good stuff.
science too, and you're right, organic chemistry. I have dyslexia, a slight case of dyslexia, and remember the cis and the trans molecules. On my exam, I got all reversed. They were all back.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I did make it through organic, and then, but we had to take comparative anatomy at that point in time. They make them do it anymore, but they would hand you a bag of bones, and you had to basically put this cat back together, and it was this stack of bones. So I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. I'm done. 4 years I was done, but I just still loved the animal stuff, loved the profession. It was so much fun when we were doing freeze branding cows and drenching sheep.
Yes.
That was all, I mean, it was great.
Loved it.
But not when I got into the other part of it. It's like, oh, this is not the fun. So tell me how life threw you a curveball. How did you, what's been one of your tough life challenges?
Well, being a single mom and raising a kid on my own was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do. He's now 24, and I've been married just over 5 years. So the first 18 years of his life was me being a single mom. And so working 3 or 4 jobs to make ends meet and making sure that he got whatever he needed. So I put him through private school. I wanted him to have the best education possible, which was a whole nother job to pay for that, and going through college at the same time. So that was really, really hard. I was a really young mother. So having to juggle college and a lot of jobs and parenting all at the same time was hard. It was hard. I mean, there were times that it was, top ramen for dinner, and that's what it was until the next paycheck came through, and trying to study and help him with his homework at the same time, and make sure that, there was no time for solid parenting, or there was no time for, there was definitely never holidays together, or, kind of fun things to do, because it was always working. So it was a very busy household. I did live with my college roommate. She's now a veterinarian. And we kind of helped each other through whatever we needed to co-parent both of the kids. She had a boy that was a month older than my son. And so that was a huge help to have a co-parent in the household that we could, okay, you drop off, I pick up kind of thing. But it was still it was hard. It was hard being a single mom. And looking back, I think to myself, how the hell did I get through that? How did that even happen?
I was sitting here listening to you tell this story going, how in the world did she manage? Because I mean, college is hard enough as it is. And then, trying to keep your grades up. And then I worked all college too. My family owned restaurants. And so I would go to school during the week, and then would come home on the weekends and work waitress shifts until and then I'd get off at 10 o'clock at night and go on a date, and then to be home by midnight, because my mother says nothing good happens after midnight. You have to
right.
So you date for 2 hours, and then you went back to school, and then you start all over again the next week. But what doesn't kill
a kid in that mix,
right?
Yeah. I would work from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. and often it was emergency. So often we get off, 5, 6 a.m. and get home and sleep on the couch a little bit until I had to take the kid to maybe an hour or so, 2 hours. So I had to take my son to work, or the kids to work, or to school, excuse me. I take them to school. And then I would try to catch them sleep during the day, but oftentimes I was in school. And then when I got done with school, I'd pick them up, do homework with them, try to fight to stay awake, maybe take a nap. But I just worked weekends, Thursday through, Sunday weekend. So 40 hours, something like that on the weekends. And I'd pick up all these extra shifts, cleaning houses, working a lunch shift at a restaurant. I mean, anything, muck and stalls, anything I could do to just make the car payment or go get groceries. And so, you just do what you do. And thankfully, I did it in my 20s and 30s, right? Because I had the energy and I could go on 4 hours of sleep, study. I don't even know. I think I stayed with like my book under my pillow at night. I don't even know when I studied, but it worked. And I got great grades all through college and I loved it. But it was definitely a challenge. Looking back, I definitely pat myself on the back to say like there were some really, really hard times, but I made it.
Yeah. So going through all that, were there times that you thought, I can't handle this, or that you were scared that it wasn't going to work out for you?
No, because that's not an option. Like you're always going to be a mom and you don't give up. Like I don't, how do you even give up? You're a parent. What do you like you have somebody that's a parasite, like how do you, you can't just say like, no, we're going to stop this relationship and I'm going to, I don't know, go somewhere else. Like that wasn't the option. It never,
there are,
it never crossed my mind. It wasn't the way my parents raised me either. Like weird. There was no way that you didn't quit. You didn't give up. You just found a way. And that definitely built my resilience and helped me be who I am. As we talked a little bit about earlier about resiliency, there is something to that. And when you are stretched to a point where you think you're going to snap, but you don't even know you're going to snap because you don't know, you don't have enough, mental capacity of bandwidth to even understand where you are in life. You just put one foot in front of the other and you just keep going. And I did, and I just kept going and kept going. And I think now that I look back and think that's where I really built my resiliency and built my inner strength and, kind of the gist of who I am. And I'm a extremely independent, strong woman. And I know that my journey has created that to be who I am today, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about COVID and resilience and fear. And I do think that when you go through fires in life, and we do, and life is not easy. Life is not meant to be easy. We were never promised a cakewalk. And
right.
when you do go through these fires and you come out the other side, that you are stronger and you've got knowledge and wisdom that takes you
experience.
Yeah, because when the next one comes in, that's the other thing we were saying. It's gonna keep happening. It's
right.
This is not, it seems novel, but it only seems novel to us because in other areas of the world, they've had SARS, they've had pandemics, they've had war. We've just been very privileged in the United States and with the way that our lives go. And I think we're just getting a reality check to say this is the rest of the world is having to deal with this a lot more than we ever thought we would have to. But once we've gone through it, we now have a skill set that we didn't have before. And I can remember when the pandemic first hit, I made this little video and it got like 7,000 views. And all it said was, it'll be okay, because I have been through 4 economic downturns. I've had cancer. I've all these things have happened. I've lost my job. It'll be okay.
It'll be all right.
Moving.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Just
figure it out.
At the beginning of the pandemic, the Friday before our shutdown here in California, we lost my son's 19-year-old cat. He had passed away. He was 19. He was in good health, but he was 19. And so, it is what it is. And that was in March. And then in May, I lost my aunt to breast cancer. And in June, I lost my 16-year-old dog. And then in August, I lost my stepmom to COVID. And then in September, I unexpectedly lost my 16-year-old cat. And right when I thought I could not imagine having any more, like, can't get your teeth kicked in while you're down, like nothing else could even compare to 2000, the dumpster fire of 2020. And then in January, unexpectedly lost my son's father, my ex-husband. He died suddenly and unexpectedly in January. And that was for me the breaking point. And I thought, okay, I've had so much loss. My dad's dog died. He was 5 years old, that I inadvertently had diagnosed with lymphoma when I was petting his lymph nodes.
Wow.
And so 4 pets and 3 very close people to me. And I thought, wow, like this year sucks so bad. I'm over it. And I just kept, again, putting one foot in front of the other and saying to myself that other people have it worse.
Mhm.
And I can get through this. And I have all the support, an amazing, amazing support group, and people that are just surrounding me in my time of need. I don't even know what I need, but they're here. And I just think like, yeah, it's been sucky, but I'm going to keep going. You don't have a choice. Sometimes you need to take a pause and you kind of reevaluate some things. And we've definitely done that. And this has been a year of rebuilding. But at that same point where, you think you're at your breaking point, there's that resiliency that I think back and say, okay, I was stretched so far as a single mother and I bounced back. And now I'm being stretched in a different way, having to deal with all of this grief and loss. And so I'm being stretched in a different way, but I'm resilient and I know that. And so bouncing back from that has been a full year, absolutely full year of that. And again, just going back to that, like I'm resilient, I'm independent, I'm strong, I have the things I need to get through. And so you don't get the choice of giving up. And after my son lost his father, I was sharing that with him. Like, you have to get up every day. You have to put one foot in front of the other. You just have to keep going. You go to work, you take a shower, you brush your teeth, you do the things that you're supposed to do every day. And every day gets a little bit easier. And you just make sure that you have the support around you that you need. And if you don't, you figure it out and you find them, right? Find those people that can support you. And life is going to continue to throw you curveballs for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
It's how you deal with it that make you who you are. So do you want to be the person that pulls the covers over their head and gives up and quits? Or do you want to be the person that gets out of bed and says, I'm going to go brush my teeth and get in the shower and go to work and do human things that we're supposed to do all day?
Yeah. My mom is 88, and one of the things that she says is movement is lubricant. Now, she means it as far as exercise goes, because she fusses at me because I don't exercise enough. But it really is true. You just keep moving because your mind only knows what you tell it. And if you tell it, I can do it, it goes okay. And if you tell it I can't do it, it goes okay.
Okay.
So you pick.
Yeah.
You pick.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I saw people suffering a lot with, they've been hit by a lot of stuff. And obviously, in our lives, we've been hit by a lot of stuff too. And the older you get, the more it becomes death of people that you care about, death of animals that you've loved for a long time. And but that's just part of it. That's part of life. If you don't ever love anybody, you don't ever lose anything, right? So you got to take the good with the bad. But I do think that looking back on that, you just got to keep telling yourself, okay, I've done this. I have support. I have friends. I can reach out to other people, and I can't let my mind tell me a story that says I can't. I need to tell myself that I can, because your mind it bends toward negativity.
Powerful organ.
It does. And it tells you false stories because it's meant to protect you from saber-toothed tigers having you for lunch. And in the modern world, that doesn't really make much sense, but you have to realize how your mind works and understanding that you can control that to some degree, as long as
absolutely.
I'm not talking about diagnosed mental illness. I'm talking about the narrative.
Sure. Yes. You're the internal, devil and angel there that say, you can stay in bed all day and, find comfort in the bottle of whatever it is, right? Or you can, get out of bed and brush your teeth and get in the shower and go back to work and just keep going. And that, not to say that there's not days that, I just sit on the couch and read a book and order a pizza and stay in my pajamas, because there's days that, that happens, but that's not the same thing as saying I can't do this anymore, right? That was never ever something in my vocabulary. And to even like when you ask me the question, I think to myself, like, oh, that was an option? Like, I didn't even, wow, how come I wasn't offered that option? It just wasn't something that I even understood that you could do. You just had to keep going.
Yeah. Well, we were laughing because as managers, the thing that you do is problem solve all the time. Problem solve.
All day long.
Yeah. Figure it out.
One dumpster fire to the next, no matter what it is. And if you don't have a fire extinguisher or the fire extinguisher runs out, then you figure out something else.
Figure out something else. Well, you're talking about fire. I'll tell you, when I was 23, I was managing one of my family's barbecue restaurants, and we had open pits. And the night man would come in and clean, and he would put all the coals or the barbecue shoulders on the spent coals from the day before. Well, there were some live coals left, and he didn't notice it, and the pits caught on fire in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
So the fire department came. There was that foam everywhere. There was smoke everywhere. There was water. It was a big mess.
Oh boy.
And everybody's like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I said, we're going to open. We open at 11 o'clock. We're going to call every person who works here. We're going to tell them what happened. We're going to tell them to come in now and bring a change of clothes. And we're going to clean this place up. And at 11 o'clock, we're going to open. And we did. And nobody had a fire until they found it out later in the paper that it caught on fire in the night. But you just problem solve and you just get it done.
Just figure it out.
Did we have a pretty good excuse to wring our hands and go, oh, we can't, we've just burned up 75 barbecue shoulders.
It's not on the menu today, by the way. It's PB&J's.
Yeah, that's it. Let's talk about decision making. I mean, if you think about, here you are, this young mom deciding to go to school and juggle all this stuff, and then also deciding to not, I'm assuming, with vet school was your goal like mine. What was all this decision making process, or how do you make decisions in your life?
The biggest life-changing decision I made was actually the first time I had made a decision with my, at the time, fiance, now husband. And I was working, I don't even know, probably 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And he works 7 hours a day, if that, 6.5 hours a day. And he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, it's crazy, but this is what I do, right? I manage his practice. It's an hour and a half from my house. So I'm on the freeway 3 hours a day. And I'm like, I'm just never home. This is crazy. My son had gone through a really hard time. He changed schools and got in a bad group of friends and ended up getting suspended. And I didn't come home. I called him and I said, you're just going to have to figure this out. We'll talk about when I get home. And I remember thinking, I need to make a decision, a huge decision. At the time I was consulting on the side, kind of helping some friends out. And I was in the midst of changing from a full-time practice manager to a full-time consultant. And as a primary breadwinner, my whole life supporting my son, there was no way I could go without a paycheck, a consistent paycheck. And so this big life decision of how can I go from a full-time practice manager making great money to a consultant that I don't know where the next paycheck is coming from, and still raise a family and still have my son and provide for him. And at the same time, like, oh my gosh, the stress that I was under at this job, it was crazy. And so there was this life decision in front of me of quit your job and go consulting. And I got to make that decision with my fiance at the time. And he was like, I have a steady paycheck. We'll be fine. And I was like, there's no we in this. Like, it's me and my kid, It was really difficult for me to let go of that. So there was so many decisions in that process. It was, quitting my job. It was starting up a new company. It was allowing my fiance control over our finances in case, it hit the fan and I didn't have any money. And all these kind of big, and getting married. I had been single for 20 years, right? So getting married again, all these kind of big, huge life-changing things. I had moved out with my roommate of 15 years and moved in with my fiance, and I mean, huge life-changing things, and I got to make them all with him. And it was an amazing process for me to realize that for once in my life, I had somebody to make decisions with me and to talk through things. And, I had my parents, and my sister was my best friend. And so I had people, but to make decisions with a partner was something I had never experienced before. And so that was an amazing process for me to realize, like, wow, this is what marriage is about. This is it, is making, big decisions with somebody that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And I thought, this is great. This is marriage. This is fantastic. Like, talking through this, figuring out what's right. And yeah, that is a part of marriage, but it's not all that what marriage is. But, I didn't have any idea. And I think the biggest thing for him and I was to pray about everything we did and make sure that you don't have rose-colored glasses on, right?
Mhm.
You're getting married. And so, rose color, is this the right guy? Rose-colored glasses on there. And then rose-colored glasses about, going into be a full-time consultant and leading practice management. It's going to be this, the grass is totally greener over there. It's amazing. So really praying and seeking counsel and making sure that it was the right decision, and seeking outside counsel too, talking with my parents, talking with colleagues, talking with friends, talking with your pastor, like whoever it is that to me was somebody who either had been there or done that. I talked with Bash Hollow about consulting, and I was like, hey, let me pick your brain. What do you think about this? And he told me, it's not for the faint of heart. Still remember that. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
So I think that process was, for the first time in my life, several life-changing decisions, but it was amazing to go through it with my now husband, at the time fiance, to know that I had somebody to partner with me no matter what,
Yeah.
and it was fantastic. I loved the process. It was very difficult. There was a lot of tears and a lot of strife to make sure that it, you're making the right choices, and you look back and don't like, what was I thinking? Try to make sure we did it the right way. But it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was hard, but it was good.
Yeah.
Goes back to that resiliency.
I remember when I just kind of started my consultancy, and like you, I'd kind of been doing it on the side because people would ask you if you're good at what you're doing. People are going to ask
right.
you.
Yeah.
So I was doing some work with Novartis Animal Health and doing some work on the side, and a little bit of speaking, a little bit of helping them with their marketing stuff. And I lost my job in the Great Recession. I was laid off. And I thought, everybody knows me. I'll have a job in no time flat. But nobody was hiring because, in fact, somebody said no.
Because of the recession.
Because you're too good and you'll quit, you'll leave. And I went, who doesn't hire anybody because they're too good at what they do? That was exactly, Gwen Louder is the one who told me. She said, I tried to get them to hire you. And no, she's too good. We won't give her. So I went, okay, fine. Well, my husband looked at me one day and he said, I've always wanted to do consulting full time. Why don't you just do it? And I said, really? And he said, yeah, you can do it. And I said, all right. And that was the decision. That was how it happened. The groundwork had been laid.
Yes.
That's the key to it.
Exactly.
You too. I mean, you had laid the groundwork. You had done.
Done the homework. Done the
work,
Had
something to start with.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
You just moved on to it, and yeah, you're right. I mean, still to this day, after 15 years of doing it, you still go, man, where is something else going to show up for me to do? Am I going to have some work, right?
Not that I'm ever bored or that I ever need anything to do, but you always think like, oh.
Whenever you have a little lull in your schedule, or like, what's happening? And my husband's like, what do you have coming in? I went, I don't know. Something will show up. He went, really?
Yep. The phone will ring.
The
email will come.
It will.
Yeah.
It's all. It will. You just have faith, right? You put
one foot in front of the other. And I always tell myself, like, if push comes to shove, and for whatever reason I needed to go back to practice management, I know I could go to a practice and say, hey, listen, I'd love to be your practice manager. I'd love to do it. Let's connect. But right now, I'm fortunate. I don't have to make that decision. I pray I never have to cross that bridge again, unless there's a reason why I would want to. But I love what I'm doing now. I love being in a different practice every day. I love helping not just one practice as a practice manager, but 25, 30, 40 practices at any given time that I can be able to say here and one little gem, right? Just take this back to your practice. And if it makes our profession a better profession, then I can lay my head down at night and say, yep, job well done.
Job well done.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I feel the same way you do. I feel like if I can put some good stuff out there that really helps people have a better life and gives animals a better life, then I've done what I'm supposed to do. That's my purpose here, is to try to help people in this profession enjoy it as much as I do. And
right.
That's just
absolutely yes,
as much as I do, and it can be done. So now I'm going to ask you a hard question. What do you consider to be your career big mistake?
Yeah. So I always look back on this one point in time in my career and think, oh, so I don't want to ever say that it was a mistake, because the decision ultimately was the same. I was working as a practice manager, and I had an opportunity to take another job at a bigger practice. It was definitely a step up, and I was excited about it. And I went and told the current employee I was at, my current practice owner. I said, hey, listen, I have this opportunity. It's amazing. And he wished me well, and it was, great. And I'd given notice, and no hard feelings kind of thing. And I lived close by, and they were like family to me. And so I thought, you guys ever need anything, I'm happy to come back and help. And so I really felt that transition was going to go well. And then it didn't. And it got kind of ugly. And I ended up leaving early.
Ooh.
And I went to my new boss and I said, hey, do you want to take me a couple days early, a week early, something like that? And he was like, oh my gosh, I was so worried you were going to say you need another month. Or, the current owner offered me more money, or, something like that, counter offered. And I said, no, it just ended abruptly. And so I decided I don't want to go back, and I'm excited for this new opportunity. And it just didn't end good. It ended very abruptly, and I left and said, I'm not ever coming back here again. And I was angry, and I made that decision out of anger. And I was up just stewing on it with that email, ready to hit send until midnight, talking to my roommate, send, going to bed. And I never showed up again. And I went to this new practice. And thankfully, the practice owner that I worked with is amazing. And his wife, who is also a veterinarian, is amazing. And water under the bridge. We have both over too many martinis at the bar at a veterinary conference somewhere, have poured our apologies out to each other. And they are a very special family to me now. And, our kids grew up, I worked there for years. So their kids and my kids are the same age and grew up together. And I still come back to their practice and help them whenever I need them. And I see them frequently at veterinary events, and it's water under the bridge now. And we are definitely in a great place now. But there was a time I look back and I think I could have handled that better. Ultimately, the decision would have been the same. I would have left the practice 2, 3, 5, whatever, a week later, whatever it was. But I think I could have handled it better. The decision I made at that time was excitement for a new opportunity, and a lot of just bad juju in a hasty, and I think I could have done better. I could have done better. And I always tell myself that today I need to be a better version of who I was yesterday. And so if I can make a better choice today, if I can make a better decision, if I can be better at anything, then I've again accomplished my goal of being a better version of myself. And so that point in time is when I had really said, I can't ever be that version of myself again. I have to do better.
Yeah. So I think that's a good takeaway. I think sometimes, and it's hard. I worked in my first practice for 19 years, and you're right. It was like family. I'm still in touch with the staff that work there, and many of them have retired. It's been so long now. But when I left, I told my practice owner, I will not hire my replacement, because human nature says, I don't want anybody to be better than me. And so
right.
I will prep everything. I will have lists for you. I will have all the protocols. Everything is done, but I will not choose this new person. And they said that's fair. So that's kind of, I think that made it a little bit better transition for me, because it wasn't anything that I had a voice in, and picking this, this person who came in. Now, the crazy thing is that the person that they hired stayed 2 months, looked at one of my part-time receptionists who was going to school for accounting, and she was nursing student, and said, I have to leave. And she brought her into the office and gave her 2 hours of instruction and left, and they never saw her again. Now, I said, I'm glad it didn't have anything to do with picking her.
Right, exactly. Shoo, it's all you.
Can't blame that on me. So
Oh.
let's talk about the managers groups that you started and the networking that you guys do. Because I mean, honestly, on Facebook, I'm a member of the OC managers group, and I love that group. So
Yay.
tell us a little about your group and networking and how that helped you get where you are.
Well, at the time I started, before I got my CVPM in 2009 or 10, there was a local group of gals that were studying for the CVPM, and they got a rep from our local distributor to pay for our breakfast at Ruby's. And once a month we'd go to Ruby's. There's probably like 6 of us, and we'd go have an omelet at Ruby's while we figured out this whole CVPM thing. Like, what is this CVPM thing we hear about? And from there, we grew into the original Orange County, California managers group. And there was, a solid 10 of us at that point in time. And over the course of about that 18 months, while my colleague Melissa Tompkins and I were studying for that group, and we had passed in January of 2011, the gal that was kind of coordinating the group, she was a practice manager at the time, and she had moved on and went to a distribution company as a rep. And so she said, hey, do you guys want to kind of facilitate this now? We said, absolutely. We'll keep going with it. So that was in beginning of 2011. And we have grown the managers group to be ginormous for a local group of, taking it from 5 or 6 in a study group. And we, because of the geography here in Southern California and the traffic, we ended up branching off to a North Orange County and a South Orange County. And we meet on different days. 2 of our colleagues that are CVPMs in the South Orange County group, Dee Allen and Sarah Botts, they run that group. And so we run the North Orange County group. And I mean, we regularly have 20, 25 people for lunch. It's fantastic. We still meet the 3rd Wednesday of the month since 2011. What has that been? 10 plus years. There has been, we've probably missed maybe 3 meetings between the 2 of us, like her and I are every single meeting, every single month we're there. We now have 10 or 11 of our allied industry partners that help sponsor the group. And then last year we decided, we lost our platform. We used a Yahoo blog platform, and they got rid of it. They don't have it anymore. It was free. So we decided we were going to branch off into the Southern California Veterinary Managers Group, and we were going to encompass all the SoCal local managers group in SoCal. So I think we probably have 5 or 6 managers groups now. We have a couple in San Diego, a couple in LA, a couple in Orange County, a couple in San Bernardino County, Riverside County. And so we have this huge network now where we're all under one umbrella of the SoCal Managers Network. And once we get out, it's been about a year now. So once we get all the kinks worked out of that, I'm sure we'll grow into the Northern California and grab Sandy Welsh and her group up there and a few other ones. But the networking there has been mind blowing. And Melissa and I are a bunch of social butterflies. So anytime we're anywhere and we see, CVPM on the name tag or Southern California, we grab them and we say, okay, you're now our new friend. So come on, let's go. And our network is crazy. We've grown. We have that Facebook group now, the Orange County Veterinary Managers Group. We have a gal that used to live in Orange County, Rhonda Bell. She now lives in Texas, and she's a part of it. So she's got the, Texas group. And then we have Debbie Hill in Florida and her gang. So we've really grown tremendously. And all we ever want out of it is to share, right? Her and I, or the two people on the planet that will share, like, I'll take off my shirt if you need one. Here you go. Anything we have, our knowledge, our expertise, our training. If I've got a, an intake form for a client, I'll share it. If I've got a, whatever it is, like, I'll share it. Here you go. If there's a resource that you need for all these COVID rules, here you go. We'll share it. So it's a great network that we have built so that we can help other practice managers. I always feel like if I would have had a resource, a local resource, when I was going through that, holy cow, because some of the decisions I made as a manager, like, I don't know what to do, so this sounds good. I don't have a clue. Just make it up. And in California, you don't get to make things up over here. You have to be legit here. You get in big trouble.
Oh yeah, that is so true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of just valuable information that we've been able to share. But I think the bigger thing out of it is there is a group of us, and we always, we used to kid. It started off as like the Fantastic Four, and then it was the Fabulous Five, and then it was the Sexy Six and the Savvy Seven. And we've grown so much. Everybody kept passing their CVPM exam. And so the next person that we would bring in would pass their CVPM and keep testing and keep passing. And so there's just a group of us girls. There's, I think, 8 or 9 of us now that are all best friends. Our text chain is usually 100 text messages a day between all of us. And it's just these crazy things that happens. And it's amazing because we'll go fly to see Rhonda, or we go fly to Vegas, and people from out of state will fly. Kim will fly in to see us and meet us in Vegas. And we just have a fun time together. We meet, we hike, our husbands are friends, and they go out and we cry together. We laugh together. We support each other. We've all gone through something in our time together where we've been able to send a meal, pick up someone else's kid because they can't. Just do things like we're sisters. And it's amazing to have us come together. And we don't have, state borders mean nothing to us. We would Zoom over COVID, and we'd have our wine Zoom and have a glass of wine and talk with our friends, our girlfriends. And it's just been an amazing relationship that we've been able to nurture. And it's great because we don't share our work life with our spouses. So we don't come home and bitch over the dinner table about how horrible our practice owner is or what this tech did to us today. We can share with each other, and it's somebody who gets it.
Yeah.
And so that's been fantastic. Yes. And so now we travel together to all these different conferences, and we can bring people into our group. So the network has been fantastic in its growth across the country and across the world. We have people in there definitely from other countries. But I think it is just a blessing to have all of us girls together that are such close, tight friends, and to know that we're colleagues. We I know what you're struggling with. I know what you're going through. We're moms, right? I know what you're going through. So that's been really, really, really helpful. And I encourage other people, find your network, right? Figure out who your people are. And I remember at a Fetch conference in San Diego, Kim Jacobs from Dallas, there was probably 6 to 7 of us CVPMs running around Fetch exhibit hall, looking at different things. And I don't know, we had shouted something silly like OSHA, I don't know, whatever, right? And Kim Jacobs is like, those are my people. I have to go find those people, right? So we kind of put her under our wing and said, come on in, girl, you're a CVPM, come and hang out. And we've gotten, so many people that we've been able to mentor and go through. And that's really what we do as in the managers group, is we're just able to deliver something that's helpful to a manager, whether it's, we have Rhonda doing some marketing piece, or I did HR yesterday, our managers group, California HR Talk, whatever it is that we're able to deliver to a manager to say, hey, we know you're facing this because we're all managers. And so here's a tool. Here's something that you can use. Here's a piece of information that I didn't have as a manager, when I was managing. So networking has certainly been a huge, huge part of my career and my personal life as well. Absolutely. We're all hiking fanatics. We all go hiking every weekend together. It's a blast. But it's just something that has been instrumental in my in my career, in my life, but specifically in my career, to know that I can pick up the phone and call anybody at any state, and I'm going to have somebody that I know. If we're traveling to a conference, if I have a question about a law there or a practice there or anything, it's great to be able to phone a friend and really get to know people. VetPartners has also been instrumental in that for me. Robin Brogdon was the one that was like, girl, you need to get into VetPartners. And Peter Weinstein was definitely instrumental in that as well. Was like, yep, I don't know why I haven't done it yet. So walking into the first VetPartners meeting, I didn't know that I would know anybody. I thought I'd be the, person sitting in the corner. Like, yeah, right. Like I'd never be that person, but I thought, oh, I'm not going to know anybody. And I walked in the room and I knew, I don't know, probably 20 or 25 people there. And I thought, wow, like that's kind of amazing that all the networking I've done over the years has brought me into an organization where I know so many people already that are amazingly smart people that I've looked up to all my career, that are part of that organization. So I really see how networking has instrumentally been a very intricate part of my career without me realizing that that's, it's not something I do on purpose every day. It's just something that's happened organically.
Well, I've had people say, I don't like the networking. I don't like, maybe they're introverts. Of course, you and I, we're extroverted. And
yes,
that's true. But if you look at it for me, it's a fascination with other people and figuring out like how they got where they are and what they do for a living, and the fascination with other people's work. And then I love matchmaking. So my favorite thing to do is putting people together.
Yes.
You need to go talk to this person because
right. You
are
going to fit there. You definitely need to go there.
Talk to that person. So, but you're networking, you can't get to know those people. You don't know what they do, and you can't do that. So that gives me great joy, is to matchmake people. And the networking, you're exactly right. Personal life.
Yes.
I have a group of 12 girlfriends that we have been together for more than 25 years. Some of us, we call our root friends, longer than that. But, we go on a beach trip together. We are Christmas Eve, we spend at somebody's house. This is family. It's another family.
Yes.
The same thing I have a group in VetPartners where we call ourselves the Hens. And it's a little mastermind group that every month we meet together over Zoom. Some are attorneys, some are consultants, some are, industry folks. And we talk about, the things that are happening in vet medicine, because if you don't do that, you kind of limit yourself as to your knowledge base. You just know your own world. But when you start to expand out and you're talking to people in industry and you're talking to people who are attorneys doing all these mergers and acquisitions, you start to find out some of the details of those things too, that you can pull into the knowledge that you are using every day. One of the things I have to say that I'm so impressed with that happened over COVID was the generosity of managers. They really helped each other. They would find a solution and
share it.
Absolutely share it out there. And I know I built several documents and I threw them out there into the world to just use them, but God, just use them to help you out. But I just was so impressed with that. And I don't know that other industries stepped up like that they had. Here's how you do curbside, or here's what we did for our parking lot, or here's how we did the information out to our clients. And it was all amazing stuff. And so that networking, even in those Facebook groups, people were supporting each other and really
absolutely
excellent. So what advice would you give somebody who is facing this big either life or career decision in how, to move forward?
Yeah, well, I'll go back to, what helped me the most was pray and seek counsel, right? So pray if you're a prayer, and if you're not, pray anyway. It's not going to do you any harm. And seek counsel. I think I am always one that's going to ask others who have been down that road. And even if you made a mistake, tell me and I won't make it, right? Brian Conrad has that lecture that he talks about bloopers and blunders, right? Like even if I don't get it right, here's what not to do, right? Like don't do this. It was an epic failure. And I do the same thing. I definitely seek counsel of my parents and my husband's parents for, any decision, kind of slip it in there and see what they think and get their take on it. Because I think one thing that you talked about earlier is that somebody else has been through it. May not be the same thing, but they've been through life. And so they have this life experience component that as a younger person, you could not tell me like, I don't need to hear it. I got this. I'll figure it out. Super independent, right? And now I feel like, whoa, I probably could have made some better choices and I listened to my mom.
Yeah,
So I think now if
at 20, I knew everything. It's
right.
I don't know anything.
Well, and I'm, 45. What do I know at 45? Not that much more.
That's more.
Except for to ask.
Yes,
and I may not take the advice, but I'm going to hear it at least, right? So maybe by the time I'm 65, I'll actually take the advice. But I feel, baby steps. I'm getting there. I say seek advice. Seek advice for those that have been there, who have done it. Ask around. Technology is our friend now, right? So we can FaceTime with anybody. We can throw an email out. Whatever it is that you may be facing. I'm tossing around the idea of starting a master's degree in the first of the year, and so I've asked everybody under the sun, okay, where did you get yours? Why did you get that one? What drove you for that? So Shelly Johnson has her MSSL, and I'm just super excited. So I was recently at the VHMA Critical Issue Summit in Dallas last week, and she was there, and I'm like, hey, Shelly, will you talk with me? You're just trying to find a resource that can bring some insight into a decision that you're making. And it's not necessarily, again, it doesn't have to be somebody who's going through the same decision, but somebody who's got some, I don't want to say let's just say who's well seasoned, right? And may be able to help guide, and understand an outside perspective. Did you think of it like this? And so I think I would never ask somebody's opinion if I didn't respect them, because I wouldn't respect what they were telling me. So find counsel of somebody who is, who's your network. If you have a good relationship with your parents, I always feel like my parents have always given me advice when I ask, and I don't know what I'll do when they're ever gone, because I don't know who I'll ask then. And my son will be asking me for advice. I'll have to fill that role. I'm grateful I still have my parents, and my husband has his parents. And I always think like that's just, to me, a little bit of season in there. Colleagues, whatever it may be, but ask, seek, research, pray on it, sit on it. I think when I was younger, I made a lot of hasty decisions that, I didn't need to, I didn't have to. I could have done a better job of making sure it was the right decision and not having the bloopers and blunders, at least as many, right?
Well, that's the spice of life, right? A little bit of, oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Right.
Something to play every now and then. And those are the stories you tell, because if you don't ever make any mistakes, you don't have any good stories, right? You got to tell some good stories.
Well, I have this, this crazy, I'll say problem in my life where we have shenanigans. I don't know what happens, but we have the craziest shenanigans in my family. And my husband comes from a very small family where there's not very many shenanigans. And so when he met me, he was like, holy cow, lady, how do you get yourself into these situations? I'm like, I don't know. It's just, my maiden name's Crabtree, right? So it's just a Crabtree shenanigan. And it just happens, right? It just happens. So one of them recently was, I was at the VHMA Critical Issue Summit in Dallas, and my colleague Jessica Molina, who is from Florida, was flying into Fetch in San Diego, which is like an hour south of me. And I said, hey, Jessica, why don't you, I'll come down and pick you up at Fetch. We'll hang out together at Fetch, drive back up with me, spend the night at my home, and then we'll fly together to Dallas to this Critical Issue Summit. And she goes, oh my gosh, it sounds like so much fun girl time. That sounds like a blast. So we buy our plane tickets, we're all set. And then we just decided to throw a wrench in things. I bought a horse trailer in Texas. All my family lives in Texas. And I said, hey, you know what, Jessica, let's do a road trip. let's drive to Texas and pick up this horse trailer and bring it back. And she's like, sure, why not? So I decide we're going to do this. We get our tickets refunded, right? Here we are. We're driving to Texas. I don't have anybody to drive home with me. I'm just going to drive this horse trailer home by myself, I guess. I don't really know. I got a girlfriend to drive out with me, spend a night with my family. I had Christmas with the kids. I'm like, I'm just going to drive, this trailer back by myself. And my husband is like, are you crazy? I'm like, well, everybody flaked at the last minute. I asked a few people and he was like, I'm buying a ticket. I'm on my way. So he buys a ticket, gets on a plane, comes and we drive back this horse trailer. He's never driven a horse trailer in his life. He's never driven a trailer in his life. And it would take 2 days and drive back. And he's like, life is so exciting with you. Because just on a whim, I'm like, let's just do this, right? It's just those kinds of things that happen, and that my whole family is that way, where there's just something that comes up and we're like, we'll just wing it. Let's just try it. Let's just see what happens. It's always something in my family. And thankfully, my husband is a trooper, because he just goes with it with a smile and is super laid back like I am. And my girlfriends will be like, you just did what? So they just know, like with Andrea comes, whatever crazy comes along, and just, sit down, put your seatbelt on and hold on. It'll be fun. If nothing else, it will be fun.
It'll be fun. Just take a ride in a horse trailer. You just never know. You
never know what'll happen.
All right. So tell us a fun fact about you. Do you have a secret talent? Do you have a favorite song, or something that people would be surprised to know about?
Well, I don't know that there's much surprising about me. I'm very much so what you see is what you get. My feelings are always on my sleeve. So you pretty much know what's going on with me all the time. I would say one thing, it wouldn't be surprising, but it's probably the one thing that I shouldn't be. I am extremely competitive, like extremely competitive. So when it comes to my family, all plays a lot of cards. We're a big card playing family. So we play a lot of canasta and hearts and back alley, like any kind of card game. And I am cutthroat when it comes to winning. I will win no matter what. And if there is a bunch of us girls, my girlfriend, my group, my tribe is what I call them. We did a weight loss challenge last year. And I won the first 2 times for sure, just because I was like, I am winning. I will win. I will win. And let's see. I mean, there's just anything that comes up. I am super competitive, to the point where if I know I'm going to win because you suck, then I'm not even going to bother, because you suck and I'm better. I mean, I'm bad. I'm really bad. My son will not play cards with me.
That's so funny. Well, I remember not
really bad.
Again, when I play cards, usually there's alcohol involved, and so if you mix alcohol and dyslexia and you're trying to count cards, it does not work.
No.
I'll just like lay myself down, and my husband goes, "What?
It works in my brain. Leave me alone."
That's how you add that, right? This is
sure,
right? I'm a consultant. I should be able to do some math. It's just addition, and I have problems.
Sober math versus wine-induced math is a completely different calculator.
I think that's true. Well, this has been a blast, and I knew it would be. Any final words of wisdom? Anything you want to say about yourself or your company? Favorite book? Favorite quote? Shout out to a person who helped you along the way.
Well, my favorite of anything is probably going to be anything by Brene Brown. She's pretty amazing. Simon Sinek. I think that those are some inspiration that I always look for. One thing I feel like in veterinary medicine, I have really strived to make sure that I accomplish on a regular basis is to pay it forward, no matter what it is. I remember in 2000, must have been 2014 or 15, I received the Southern California Veterinary Medical Association Paraprofessional Award. And I prepared this speech when getting this award. And they said, make sure you thank who has, put you in this place. And I thought, you don't have enough time. The Jeopardy song is singing. Like, you don't have enough time to say thank you to everyone who has made it an influence, made an influence in my life to help me, encourage me, support me, coach me, teach me, train me. Like, there's just not enough hours in the day. I couldn't remember all the people. My first grade teacher, like, you can't just, there's too many. And so when I had thanked everyone, and again, this goes back to like kind of the inner person of who I am, is to always pay it forward. So there have been very many people in my life that have been instrumental helping me along the way. And so I want people to say the same of me. You were instrumental helping me too, XYZ, with whatever that looks like. And so pay it forward. In veterinary medicine, you're always going to find somebody who says, I started as kennel, right? And so the person who started as kennel needs somebody who is not in kennel anymore to help bring them up so that they in turn can say, I remember when I was kennel. And so something as small as who were you when you started in our profession, and make sure along the way that you're paying it forward so that you can look back and say, I left veterinary medicine better than when I started. And my legacy is all the people that I helped along the way. I don't expect veterinary profession to be like, oh, Andrea Crabtree, she was a mover and a shaker. That's not what I anticipate in my eulogy. I would want my eulogy to be, constantly, she helped so many people to the point where our profession is better today because of what I'm doing for our profession, for others, and not even in veterinary medicine, but just making sure we're constantly paying it forward. And I teach that principle to my son as much as possible. A couple, maybe months ago, he had lost his wallet while getting lunch one day. And he lost his credit cards, he lost his driver's license, and he happened to have his dad's license in there that he had kept as a keepsake. And he was super bummed out, bunch of cash in there. And a couple weeks later, somebody had come by and knocked on the door and dropped it off to my husband and said, hey, I went on vacation. I didn't have time to bring this back to you until now. So I apologize for the wait, but here's your wallet back. And my son had told us how much money was in there. So immediately my husband's opening the wallet and trying to like, here's, $50 or whatever it was. Like, thank you so much. And the guy was like, no, pay it forward. So this morning I was riding my horse and we had discovered a wallet on the ground. So I jumped down and I picked it up and I'm looking, is there a phone number? Is there anything in there? Driver's license, some credit cards. And I open it up. There's a couple $100 in cash in there. And I said, well, I don't really want to leave it there if somebody remembers, because if somebody else was to come along and grab it, right? So I bring it home and I give it to my son and I said, okay, here's your chance to pay it forward. This is how life works. If we constantly are paying it forward, then we know that we're leaving behind a legacy. We're teaching somebody else. Hopefully we're being kind. We're returning a couple $100 to a young kid. I can tell by his driver's license, a young kid right before Christmas time, right? So pay it forward. So I said, your job before you leave for work today is to swing by this guy's house and see if he's there and pay it forward. He's like, you're right, Mom, you're right. And he goes, and I'm not even going to take any money if he offers it to me. And I was like, yes, score one for a good mom move, right? But it's just that concept of pay it forward, no matter what it is. Make sure that your gestures are kind and thoughtful and words of wisdom, right? Discernment, kindness, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I think in gratitude, I can remember, and you remember when you started at VetPartners, they asked you to give an elevator speech. Well, they forgot to tell me I was supposed to give one. So I found it out like 5 minutes before I'm supposed to do it. And I have nothing prepared. So I just stand up and there's all these people. And I read all the articles and the books and this was my training, because there was nothing, believe me, there was nothing out there except VHMA. And this is 1987. So it had only started a few years earlier than that. And I just looked at them and I said, okay, I just want to tell you guys thank you, because you were my tutors, my mentors. You don't even know you were doing it, but
right.
all the stuff that you put out there enabled me to learn how to do my job and how to survive. And not only that, how to thrive and how to be good at what I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
just thank you. That's all I have to say. And oh, by the way, I'm Debbie
Yeah.
Boone to manage pets. And that's what I say.
P.S.
Yes, that's it. But there's a great deal of generosity out there in our profession, and people are always kind and willing to help. And it's rare that you run across. Bill Schroeder and I had this conversation one time about VetPartners. He said, I don't think there's maybe one or two people in this entire organization of more than 300 members that I wouldn't call a friend and sit down and have a beer with. And
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that's a really good association to be associated,
Especially with competitors. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of competitors in that room, but nobody treats it that way. Everybody just
No, not at all.
do it and do what we can for this profession that we love, and make it better than we started.
Then we found it. That's right.
Get better than when we started it. And it's amazing at the changes. And I'm very encouraged that you will have 20 more years to fix it, because I
don't know about fix, but I'll work on it. At least I know now we can actually change. I always felt like veterinary medicine is still hanging out with Noah on the ark, right? Like we have not changed all that much. And so in the last, 18, 21, something like that, 2 years, what we've changed, and as quickly as we've changed it, has at least told me that we actually can't change, and we, oh my gosh, can actually change on the fly fairly quickly.
Yes.
That we can, woohoo, like let's keep the momentum going. Don't slow down because COVID is, I don't even know if it's slowing down, but don't slow down. Keep it going, because we're still back in the dark ages with Noah on the ark. So how can we, keep it so we can at least maybe get to the 21st century? Like that's kind of the goal, right?
Yeah. Somebody asked me one day about being a consultant, and I said, you don't understand. In veterinary medicine, you don't have to be that great a consultant, because we're so far behind human medicine and dentistry and pharmacy. You just have to look and see what they did 10 years ago.
Yeah. Behind baby steps, 1%, move the needle 1%, we're good.
I shouldn't even say that online, but I did. Okay, it's all right. It is what it is.
It's out there.
I mean, you can't. There are no all statements, but there are some practices that are amazingly progressive and just so far ahead of the game. You go, dang, these people are so good. And then there's other ones you're like, really? You're still writing paper charts on index cards? Why?
Right. Or don't have credit card processors.
Right.
Like, wow, you don't have software. Wow.
Oh.
Okay. They're writing their appointments in appointment schedule.
That's
okay.
It. But the good thing,
we'll roll with it.
If you're a consultant, man, you can make dramatic changes that fix a lot of stuff fast. And like, I can make your life so much better. Just give me.
You have no idea.
This happens. Oh my goodness. Well, Andrea, thank you again for your time. And we will.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. This is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. In the show notes, people will get in contact with you. I'm East Coast, Andrea's West Coast. But we'll talk to anybody anyway.
We don't get time. Time doesn't matter for us.
That's right.
I want to just say one quick thing, Debbie, if I may. I was inspired this last year. My colleague David Liss and I was inspired this last year to kind of bridge the gap of technology being COVID and all of us being restricted a little bit. And David gave me a call and said, hey, what do you think about running a podcast? And I said, hey, David, that sounds amazing. I'm thinking about doing it with my, doing it anyway. And so let's do it. So we have a podcast. It's not a vodcast. We say no video, just us shooting the shit with a bunch of friends. And that is called Positive Leadership Podcast, PAWS, Positive Leadership Podcast. It is a bunch of fun. We've had you on the podcast. It really is a good time. We do the same, about the same thing, I think, we've done here, is just ask a bunch of questions and giggle more than, we should probably. But it's a lot of fun. I would love your listeners to check it out and leave some comments. But that's Positive Leadership Podcast. You can find us on any platform where you listen to podcasts.
Yep. And I encourage, it was a lot of fun when I was on there, and I actually got some feedback from people going, oh my God, this is really great. And somebody, I don't even know, from a foreign country listened to it and asked me to do some work because of the stuff that we talked about.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fun.
I'm like, oh,
Good stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time, and obviously
Thanks, Debbie.
having a good time here. And I will see you at the VetPartners meeting.
See you at the VetPartners meeting. All
And
right.
for all of the guests, thank you again for joining us today for a little bit of craziness with two CVPMs who've seen a lot, done a lot, and want to share a lot with you.